Hello to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candito.
We're going back to 1981 to a very interesting movie. An old Kathryn Bigelow, her first ever film, alongside another dude who I don't think he did anything else too much more than doing a producer stuff, but Monty Montgomery. And Willem Defoe is also first movie. So it's got a lot of firsts going on here.
Yeah.
But that's the Loveless, a 50s style biker movie that when you first shared this to me and you're like, have you ever seen this movie before? I'm like, no, I don't think so. I was looking at the poster and everything like that. I'm like, and then I sat down and watched it, and about like 20 minutes in, I'm like, you know what? I think I've seen this movie before.
Oh, really?
I want to say, I'm like, you know what? I think like maybe 15 years ago, I was on kind of a Kathryn Bigelow like catch up on her older movies. Because one of my all-time favorite flicks is Point Break, and she directs that one with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze and Gary Busey and all that good stuff. That movie,
I'm ashamed to say I haven't seen that.
dude, we got to watch that one point because I kid you not, that is like for me just like back in the day, like as a kid, like I watched that on VHS.
I've heard so many good things about it. In fact, the I don't know if you've seen the I think it's called Cornello trilogy. You know, Shaun of the Dead.
Oh yeah.
Hot Fuzz and The World's End, which I love that movie so much.
All three of them are great. Yeah.
The World's End is my favorite by far, but either way, I love Hot Fuzz and I love Shaun of the Dead, and I just remember that where I can't remember his name in Hot Fuzz, but the fat guy who like shoots up, he's like, it's Point Break.
Nick Frost. Yeah. He's like, well, you've never seen Point Break and so on like that. No, I kid you not. That movie for me is like just fantastic. I love the action. I love the characters. I love the soundtrack. It's got Rat in there for the soundtrack, so it's badass. Anthony Kiedis and Flea are in there as cameos. Yeah, there's a lot of sweet stuff going on in that movie. Yeah, they play bad guys.
Yeah, the only Kathryn Bigelow films I've seen other than now The Loveless would have been The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30, which
ironically I've never seen those two.
I really like Zero Dark 30. There's a lot of opinions on it, you know. Everyone's got opinions. They're kind of like assholes. Or in this case, belly buttons, because I didn't say they stink. But no, I thought it was a cool movie. I thought it was really good, regardless of whether or not there's certain things that are true and blah, blah, blah. I thought it was a good movie. It was entertaining. It's kind of a slow burn, but it's a very well-made movie. The Hurt Locker, I didn't really care much for. I guess as far as a movie goes, I guess it's a good movie, but I thought coming from military background, and of course not Army or Marine Corps, but still a shitty job in the military doing concrete and asphalt and crap. I thought it was kind of silly in a lot of ways, but that's just, you know, like it's hard not to compare movies about real life to real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I think those are the only two that I've seen by Kathryn Bigelow. So compared to those, this was a wildly different movie, and it makes sense. I mean, it's her first film.
Yeah. But strange enough, she actually like action movies are kind of like the main thing she kind of does. Like that's like what the majority of her like foray is. She also she has a really good vampire one too.
Oh, really?
That came out maybe I think right before Point Break, so like 88 give or take or something like that. I haven't seen that in like 15 years, but I remember that one was really good too.
I'm wondering if I've seen it.
Yeah, it's I'm drawing a blank on its name right now. I have to take a look at it, but
Let's see.
But yeah,
Near Dark.
That one, yes, that one.
I haven't seen it.
That was a real good one. So, but yeah, like so she's got a lot of cool, interesting stuff. She was married to James Cameron for a bit, you know, and then she, you know, divorced him and did her own thing still and kept going making movies. But this one here is her first one, and this is kind of a strange movie. I mean, I know there's another dude directing it too with her because it's like a shared director and writer thing, which you don't see very often, to tell you the truth. But sometimes the only time you see that is if it's like brothers or something like that. You know, that's about the only time that somebody shares it. But they share it here. And it's a kind of a strange movie for a woman to make when you really think about it. Like,
yeah, I was actually thinking that too. It's kind of hilarious that like there were parts of the movie that I kept thinking like a woman is the director here. A woman is directing this, which I mean, who cares? You know, in the grand scheme of things. But 1981, a woman is making this movie. It's such a interesting film. The opener is what catches you, I think. The line that Willem Defoe gives about, you know, kind of just about like life being life for a scumbag, you know, like I ain't out to save no man or whatever he said. I feel bad. I should remember. I just watched this movie 3 hours ago, but but he gives this little spiel about how he ain't here for no one, you know, like he's doing his own thing. He's a nomad. Him and, you know, I think it's 20 minutes in the movie, maybe you find out he's got a group of other buddies that are also riding motorcycles and stuff. It takes place, I think, in the 50s, the late 50s.
Yeah, total 50s. So it's got that. And that was that thing, too, that was kind of popular in the late 70s and, you know, early 80s, was to have a lot of that 50s kind of like charm and nostalgia for it and so on like that, you know. And it's kind of doing the thing where it, like, I don't know if you've ever seen The Wild One with Marlon Brando.
No.
That one's kind of in a similar way, too, where it's just like, you know, these bikers show up to like this kind of like cafe diner thing and just like hang out there causing havoc, being obnoxious, not helping anybody out and so on, and you know, just really making somebody's workday really terrible. Like
it's man, I can't stop thinking about the fact that it's just a really interesting movie, and I can't say in a good or a bad way. It's an interesting movie. It makes me think of a play. It makes me think of like I feel like it would have been an awesome stage play, maybe more so than a movie. But I can't beat it up or anything because it's the first movie from this director. Like, who knows what, you know, how much experience she had in theater and all that. So.
Well, and that's the thing, is it's kind of like an indie movie in a sense at the end of the day. So it's like kind of a low budget. Like it literally takes place in about 3 general locations. You got the diner, you got the garage, and you got the motel/bar. And that's about the, you know, other than a couple road scenes, that's pretty much it. You know, and at first we only really just see Willem Defoe, and he's bikering it up, and you know, he's trying to. They got that like macho tough guy. It's kind of weird because like when you look at those biker guys, it's almost like they act so tough that they almost seem so lame and so
they're
like
super silly.
Like they're almost like cartoony characters and whatnot, and like every
a bunch of 12-pound blowhards, you know, like
any like 50s saying catchphrase you could possibly think of, they say them all.
Oh yeah, and they're all assholes to each other, and like, but not just the bikers. Like everyone's a dick to everyone in this movie.
Yeah,
like
I think
everyone's
that's
rude.
The whole thing.
Everyone's rude. I want to say probably, I don't know, 35, 45 minutes into the movie, maybe. If you could even call her a love interest, just this random girl rolls up to the gas station, random to the group, not random to the town, because this town has like 12 people in it. It's a tiny nothing town that they've rolled through. The setting is, they're rolling through on their way to Daytona, the races. And
but they never get there.
No,
that's
they
the thing. Don't. They talk about it, but they never get there.
One of their buddies. So, for me personally, part of this movie was pretty interesting because of what I'm currently doing in real life right now, which is going to this technical college for power sports technology. He's working on motorcycles, all kinds of small engines. Very broad, way more broad of a field than I ever imagined. It's not only, your motorcycles, quads, ATVs. It's also, your yard equipment like chainsaws, weed eaters, snow blowers, and then agriculture equipment.
Because a lot of those engines are strangely enough more similar than you think.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into it. But that said, either way, I just started this up, and what are we talking about the last week? In this class is the simple engine, 2-stroke and 4-stroke, and crankcase and blah blah blah, all this and that, and a final drive chain. And of course, what's this? One of Willem Defoe's buddies. The reason why they're held up on their way to Daytona is because the character Hurley, he has his primary chain busted. And immediately when I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's actually going to hold him up for a day.
You're like, I understand that one.
I'm like, they got to take this off to take this off to take this off to take this off to finally get that chain out of there. And if it's able to be just stretched a little bit more, they might be okay, but they're probably not okay. And then they're going to be there for a while.
Yeah, they got to replace it. Yeah, there's all that going on.
But no, that's why I was like, huh, okay, cool. And but yeah, so they're doing their thing at this shop, but before they even get there, it was this long. It seemed forever. It seemed like it was such a long scene. The bikers at this diner, and they're really not even doing anything wrong per se. Like they're being juvenile, they're being silly and stupid and kind of rude, I guess. But everyone's also being rude. The waitress isn't exactly being rude, but she's not very. She's not jumping up and down with joy that they're there, And
she literally, like, when Willem Defoe orders that sandwich, she like just drops it on the table in front of him.
It's hilarious. And I just imagine people talking like this. And nowadays people are ridiculous. And like people say all kinds of shit that you'd think like, how did you make it this far in life? With your people skills. But in this movie, you think about, I don't know, and neither do you, because neither of us were there, but in the 50s and 60s, you always have this idea that people were at least knew English better, at least knew manners more. I don't know, maybe. But of course, you have these pockets everywhere where people don't give a crap. People are lawless and jerks. And I guess that's where Willem Defoe came from, because he rolls through, of course, and the first thing he does is he sees this woman who has a flat tire, and of course, you think he's a stand-up guy, almost like a Cool Hand Luke type of, like, yeah, I'm just a cool guy, but he's not a Cool Hand Luke. He might just be a Luke, and like nothing cool about him unless being a dick is cool to you. But no, he fixes her tire, and he's just like weird and rude and almost sinister in a funny way, and he fixes her tire. He kind of just like throwing commands at her. Turn that music up, and and are you a mechanic? No. I'm going to fix your tire. And she's just like,
yeah, okay, whatever, yeah.
And then of course when he's all done, he's like, all right, well, you're all set. So what do you got? Like I expect something for this, which I'm thinking there. My wife and I, well, I mean, he'd fix her tire, and sure, I'd feel like he just do a little compensation. And she gives him like $3, which I'm sure is like a decent,
yeah, that's actually, but back in the day, that's probably pretty good. That'd be like getting like $30 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Not more.
Exactly. And it's not like she flagged him down. He just decided to come do it. And then of course he's like, all right, cool, thanks. And then whoop, takes her wallet, takes the rest of her money, grabs her boob, forces a huge kiss on her that she seemed to enjoy. And then and then he just like takes off and starts laughing. And that whole scene, my wife's like, he comes, fixes her tire, takes her money, takes more money. Oh yeah, takes some cigarettes, and then makes out with her, grabs her boob, walks away laughing, and rides away on his bike. He's like, that was an interesting chain of events there. And
yeah. I think it's just that this is like that's just to show you right off the bat.
That's just the movie.
Yeah, that's Willem Defoe right there.
It's a movie. It's a movie about nothing and all kinds of things at the same time.
Yeah, there really not a whole lot happens in this movie. It literally is like a hangout picture of a bunch of characters just going around waiting for their motorcycle to be fixed. Like, really, I feel like if you try to pitch this movie, it would sound very uninteresting, really. So what's the movie about? Well, it's about a bunch of motorcycle riders that they get stuck in a small town and one of their chains breaks, so they got to hang out there. And what happens from there? Well, things just kind of happen. They meet some people. The locals don't like them,
Not at all.
No.
I don't like him in there. And meanwhile, they haven't said a word to this woman, and I don't like him here. I don't like him. I don't want to serve him. I don't want him here. So, I like the. If there was anything that was ever true, is what the cook or chef or whatever he was said in that restaurant. I was like, just mind your own business. You're gonna be fine. I mean, that has been the case in every shitty neighborhood I've ever been to. The Tenderloin in San Francisco. Well, I guess I'd just say the whole entirety of San Francisco at this point. Like you just keep your head down, keep moving, whatever, or just look straight forward and not bother people, and usually you're okay. I mean, usually.
Yeah, in as long as you look crazier than them, then you're fine.
Yeah. But then, yeah, this. it was at the point where Willem Defoe, half the time, what's this guy even doing in the movie? Willem Defoe has some lines here and there, but he's usually just leaning up against a wall or sitting down.
Yeah.
That's it. He didn't really do anything. And
for some reason, all the women are interested in Willem Dafoe. Like he's like some symbol. You know what I mean? They're treating him like he's Mel Gibson walking around or something like that. But it's Willem Dafoe, so it's kind of like.
But yeah, and then this girl rolls in. At first, I thought it was a boy who rolls in this.
Yeah, she's got that short hair going on.
And not only short hair, but I mean, I don't know how old she's supposed to be, but she looks like she's about like 15 or something.
Yeah, just old enough to drive is about it.
Yeah,
in the 50s.
Rolls in this Corvette, and I'm like, oh, that's a pretty cool Corvette. She rolls in, and I'm like, oh, that's a woman, and she's a bitch. And but I mean, that's the initial impression. You're like, why is this woman so like, thinks her shit doesn't stink apparently. And then Willem Defoe immediately, like is just like, oh man, I got to get on this. Like that's his calling there. Like this woman can't outdo me, in being the asshole around here, And I before I go any further with that, what I was wanting to bring up earlier was when he gets to the diner, him and that waitress, they're interacting, and it's not like a super pleasant conversation, but it's also not like, it's not the worst either, because their level of like, their mood, they both seem to have the same mood. So that like, it would be one thing, it'd be one thing if she was like a super nice waitress and like giving him good service, and he's just like, yeah, give me the freaking cut. You know what I mean? She's just like super low energy, not really offering much, and he's just, what's with this town? Is this a town or a truck stop? What is this? And the things he's saying is just like, I'm thinking, I'm trying to put myself here, like, is this how people really talked? Like, or is this just this huge exaggeration for the tone of the movie? And as soon as she pours him some coffee, and then he just says scrambled. And I told my wife, I'm like, he must want eggs. That's got to be what this is. He's just got to be that much of an asshole that she doesn't even ask what he's going to have, or if he wants a menu, he just says scrambled.
That's it. Yeah.
I want this confidence.
Yeah, just to say things. This lady's actually probably the nicer character of them all. I mean, like she's trying to have a little bit of a conversation,
and she's almost defending them.
Yeah, she's almost trying to defend. Yeah, she defends a bit because the old, like the owner waitress lady or whatever, she's like, oh, I don't like these kids here. Bunch of dirty hooligans is what they are, And she's like, I don't know, I kind of like them, like, And then she goes on and like, because then he goes like, so what do you do in this town? Anything fun? He's like, well, I had a husband and then he died. He's like, oh, at least he found a good way out of here.
Yeah, he had the right idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, him. One thing that was kind of weird is there's a few other patrons that you see again in the movie a few times are in this diner. It's again such a small town. Another case of why I feel like this would have been a great play is because you don't ever see a character that you don't see again.
Yeah, there's probably like 12 characters in the entire movie, and they all like show up multiple times.
In fact, I think
they all come together even towards the very end of the movie.
I think the only people that you only see once are the black people in the film, which is kind of, I feel weird saying, but in the diner, there's one of the guys who apparently doesn't like to pay for things. The old guy who's the dad of the girl with the Corvette, which you don't find out till a little while later, but he seems like he's just being a jerk. Once again, everyone is a fucking
he
asshole.
owns a Corvette and he doesn't want to pay for things. Yeah.
Yes. He doesn't want to pay for his food, and he's giving the waitress a hard time, and she's like, give me my dime, like you owe me a dime. You owe me a dime or something crap like that. And finally he gives it up, and he takes off, and they show him drive away to I don't even know where. They just some random field, and there's a black dude sitting down, and like 3 black kids that are playing, I don't know, probably with a stick or something. And this guy comes and parks, gets out, those kids run away, and the black guy's just still sitting there. And he's like, those kids don't come back here, all right? You know, like, you want your kids knowing what their daddy really does, and then that's it. They never goes back to that. And
those ones don't come back. I even kind of forgot about that until you brought that back up again. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about that scene.
So I'm like, what the hell was this? What was this supposed to mean? Like, is it just like giving you more fuel to the fire for how much of a dick this dude is, or something? But
probably is.
I wondered if that dude, that black guy that was sitting down, was one of the black guys that they show a little later on. But I don't think he was. I don't know. But but yeah. So all the motorcycle buddies.
There's a couple of those. There's like pretty much you get the guy with the kind of little pompadour, and then you get the guy with the sideburns comes in, and none of them look tough at all. They look, it's like one of those ones.
No,
like
they don't.
You look at these guys will get their ass beat like any day. Like that nerdy guy sitting at the bar, I think could kick all of these guys' ass.
So the yeah. Probably because he's probably
that blonde girlfriend's probably the toughest looking one of them all.
Oh yeah, no shit. The Davis, one of the bikers who shows up after Willem Defoe in the film, he's got the pointed haircut. He was actually a rockabilly musician. I think his name's Robert Gordon. And he died just a couple years ago.
Is that the mechanic guy?
No, he was just he was one of the other motorcycle riders in the gang, and he okay, yeah. He wasn't the guy with the funny sideburns. He was the
he just had like the straight up kind of like whatever.
Yeah, he was
really, not really a pompadour. He more just had like an eraser head kind of like
straight up. Yeah, he was actually he was a musician for a long time, and from 76 to 22, and he wasn't like the most popular guy ever, but he did punk rock, he did rockabilly, pretty interesting guy, but he's dead.
I didn't know that. That's an interesting one there. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I was like, oh, okay. I was kind of wondering if any of these guys were kind of related to that rockabilly scene or anything, which rockabilly and punk always kind of confuse hand in hand. It seems like a two genres that shouldn't mix, but somehow, some way they can.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, he and rockabilly, of course, always finds itself within like Americana type of culture aspects, whatever. I don't know what else to say about that, but so it doesn't surprise me that he was chosen to be in that film. He might have also had something to do with motorcycles too, if I remember, but I could be thinking of several other people. Just finished Walking Dead, of which Norman Reedus has a show about him riding motorcycles around, blah blah blah. But anyway, no, when they show up, I think it's right after they show up. Somebody's talking to Willem Defoe about his buddies, or talking about something. I don't quite remember what, but he talks about how he rolls with these guys because, in fact, I think he was talking to the girl with the Corvette as he took off with her. He's like, "What do I got to do to drive this?" And she's like, "Sit in the driver's seat" or some crap. I don't remember, some dumb line.
Something.
And so they're talking quite a bit. They just go on this drive and then a booze run, basically, to a general store, I guess, or a liquor store or something owned by a black guy.
Yeah, and these are like some of the only other black guys in the movie.
Yeah, the other two guys. And again, you never see these guys again. They don't even say anything. They're just playing poker or something. Yeah. And Willem Defoe makes a quip about, hey, I'm not as white as I look. And basically just stands so hard
right there.
He stands there, tells them what he wants. They don't do anything, and then he lays the money out. Says, "I want 2 cases of this and 6 bottles of Thunderbird," or whatever the hell it was. And then the guy just doesn't say anything, gives him the stuff he wants, and then leaves. And Willem Defoe leaves, but after he says that line, which it was pretty hilarious. But yeah, I think it's on that car ride with her. He says like, "Yeah, I was with these guys in jail. You're in prison, so That's why we roll together. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's also like if it's kind of implied maybe, or left to the viewer to assume that some of these dudes, if not all of them, were probably in the military, because it's the 50s. World War II was just a few years ago, and they're apparently they're skinheads, at least one of them. And
well, I got a theory on that part right there, because you see that with a lot of 50s and 60s bikers, is you see swastikas and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, that's
Well, what I think it is they're not World War II veterans. They're baby boomers, the original generation. And what's the number one thing you can do to piss off your parents more than anything else?
Well, get tattoos and be rebellious and do the opposite of what they want you to do.
Well, not just that, but you have swastikas, the main thing that they fought against. And like, think about it, like that. Like, how could you piss off your World War II dad more than having a swastika tattoo or put that on your jacket? So I have a feeling that like it's less that they're skinheads, like when you see them in the 50s and 60s, and it
makes
more
a lot of sense.
It's the more just like, how do you piss off the older generation the most? That is how you do it. I think that's what it's more about, because you see that also in the 60s and 70s biker movies too. And I kind of put that more together. I feel like in hindsight, people would look at it like, oh, they're skinheads. And I go, I don't think so as much. I think it's more of just a way to really, really piss off your parents.
Could be. That could really, I would believe that 100%. Also, my wife and I were actually talking about this yesterday, I think, talking about division in the United States when it came to both the First World War and the Second. With the citizens, and I don't know if there were permanent residents at the time. I doubt it. They're probably just immigrants, whatever. But people were not. There was a lot of people that had no desire for us to go help Europe in either war. And when it comes to the second, well, the first and second both, there was a lot of German immigrants in the country, and they didn't really think it was that cool for the U.S. to be fighting against Germans and killing a bunch of Germans. So I also wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of German or transplants from Germany, you know what I mean, that were like, screw the U.S.
Yeah, like a little angry there and so yeah.
But yeah, it was the 50s and 60s. I think would have been super interesting to live for way more reasons than one, but a lot of this was kind of the beginning of the golden age of the United States when it came to economy, a huge probably shift in culture, on the rise of automobiles, the way that everything kind of exploded, and of course motorcycle riding. If I'm not wrong, the motorcycle was might have started out as well, I don't want to say started out, but might have gotten pretty significant because of the war. A lot of people think Harley was the first American manufactured motorcycle, but it was Indian. Yeah. But anyway.
The motorcycle thing even too is like, this just goes back for World War II vets, because these guys I think are a little bit too young to be World War II.
I think they are. I think they are a little too young.
I think that they're like literally they're like generation one of the baby boomers in a sense.
Yeah.
The very, very like before hippies and all that kind of stuff. Like there's like they're the first part. But a lot of times, like the whole reason for those motorcycle
old enough to have been in jail though.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times those motorcycle games was like, because like what they initially started off a lot of times was, and it actually even happened after World War I as well too. But like, the veterans would get home and there'd just be a lot of those guys that just didn't know how to get back to normal civilization.
Oh yeah.
So they're like, I'm just gonna get a bike and I'm just gonna like go cruising around. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna be on my own and just kind of be free and just the only thing I know what to do is killing and all that kind of stuff, so it ain't changing. So I think that's where like so much of that stuff kind of starts off and so on.
Yeah.
And especially it gets really big after World War II, and then this is like almost like after the World War II generation of bikers, this is like the next rollover, section is the 50s bikers.
Yeah, no, pretty interesting. I guess there's just so many ways you can pick this movie apart. Which is funny because we already said it. There's really nothing that happens. There's just a lot of imagery. There's a lot of dialogue, and not a lot of much else other than up until the end of the movie, we get a lot of you get a lot of resolutions instead of climactic events. A lady's car breaks down. Well, it gets fixed. The guy's motorcycle breaks down. Well, they start fixing it. Willem Defoe apparently has sex, but you don't see it. You just see him get up onto with this girl.
Well, you know what's the funniest thing? I remember when the movie started up because I watched it on Amazon Prime and it said nudity in there, and I was like, I bet you that nudity is going to be for Willem Defoe. That was the first thing I thought. I'm like, that's probably what it's going to be for.
Oh yeah, and in all its winking glory. But,
yeah, you just get some Willem Defoe butt.
You do, and the other things too. It was very surprising. Very surprising.
Yeah, he jumps up out of that bed and so on like that, and the weirdest thing too is because the dad comes in, he's like, "Damn it!" Like, what was the name again? It was like, "Toledo, you fucking little whore, get back in there," and everything. And then later on, it's only like 2 scenes later, which is like a couple hours later. He's like congratulating Willem Dafoe. He's like, I would have done that too if I was a young buck like you. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
it's this guy you could tell that there's like a lot more like heinous stuff going on with this. Like,
oh yeah, well,
father.
And on that ride, of course, gosh, once again, like we were saying, I'm watching this movie, kept thinking like a woman directed this, and like all the times that they're giving the female waitresses a hard time or being really sexist and like just short of catcalling and sexual harassment, I guess, and you're like, interesting. And then the where Willem Dafoe takes off with the girl in the Corvette, and they're like talking shit to each other the whole drive, like you're nothing but a hop head with a big bike, you're an idiot, and he's like, yeah, well, you didn't finish school and your mom's dead, like it's like, yeah. And and then the girl, she starts talking at first when he says to her, because he says, how'd you get that scar on your face? I'm like, what scar? And it wasn't until like a moment later where she like goes like that or so, I don't know, but she's got that little scar above her eyebrow. And apparently it's her dad did it, and her mom killed herself and this and that. Everyone's life sucks.
Yeah, this town sounds terrible. It's like this is one of those like ones that's like if you'd ever lived in a small town before and you saw a movie like this, you'd be like, God, it must be terrible to be in a small town. Well, this is like a truly small town, because sometimes some people think they live in a small town, but it's got like 10,000 people. That ain't a small town. This is like a town that's got like 20 people.
Yep,
and like, everybody knows each other. Yeah,
you might. I'm sure at times, because I did. You've probably felt the same way about Twain Hart, maybe, that I did in Arnold, where I was like, man, this town's tiny, And then one day on the way to a concert, you go through Snelling.
Yeah, got like a population of like 112.
I don't even know if there's that many. But I remember going through that town, and it's like after about 2 minutes, it's like, oh, I'm already out of Snelling. Or I don't know if you've ever been up to, I don't know if you've ever been up to Markleyville.
Yep.
Yeah, it's another one. You can literally stand in one end of the town and look the other direction and see the other end of the town.
Yeah. Or when you go into like Nevada and you get all those little teeny towns out that way too, like Walker and everything like that.
Yeah, Walker. Oh my God, there's nothing there. There's like, Walker Burger.
There's Walker Burger, and then there's that little like mini mart. That's it. And that like Native American like gift store.
Yep. I ate shit on my motorcycle. Funny enough, motorcycle. I had a Yamaha Virago 535cc. XV 535. I was riding. I was almost out of fuel. I just went over the Sonora Pass. I went from Arnold down to Murphy's and down to Copper and Vallecito or whatever, and then turned on Parrots Ferry, and then went to through Sonora and up past Twain Hart and over the pass, and then hit. I think 395, I guess, and started going up towards Walker and had lunch, and then I was almost out of fuel. So they said, oh yeah, there's a gas station right up the road. So I'm riding towards it, and there's a big hedge on my right, and I'm probably doing 40, 45, and I see the sign, like, here's the hedge. Well, I see the sign on the other side of the hedge, and I'm getting closer, so I turn into it. Well, had no idea that I was going to be rolling into a graveled parking lot, and like right away, I just I fishtailed and kind of hopped a little bit, but ultimately I ate shit. And interestingly enough, my bike was fine. Like my mirror moved a little bit. I just moved it right back. There's not a scratch on the bike. I couldn't believe it.
I've done that a couple times too, where I've like dipped the bike, and for some reason it's like, wow, that did nothing. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, but the anyway, yeah, this tiny town. One of the things, again, early part of the movie where Willem Defoe asked the woman, like, is there? It almost makes you, the way that he talks, it makes you think of like a mobster or something. Funny enough, because he says later on that he's from New York. But he like, oh, is this town and what's going on in this town? Is there anything to do or whatever? I don't remember what he said. And she says, she gives him like, what'd you ask? And he says, I said, and then he says something completely different than what he said. Still the same. He's still, same kind of question, but not the same words at all. Is this a town or a truck stop? And it, like, do people like this town or some crap? And she says to him, well, like, if you weren't born here, I don't see any reason why you'd be here. Like, what, like, no reason to be here unless you weren't born here, I think is what she said, something like that. Yeah. And kind of makes sense because, being in Missouri now, well, I mean, we already both said there's towns kind of like that in California and Nevada, but I think in the Midwest, you find way more little tiny towns that you're like, why is this here? Like, there was nothing around here for like 2 hours. Like, how do you even sustain yourself?
Well, I would say that's the biggest difference I noticed in other states beyond California, because the thing about California, like, nothing's really that far apart from each other. So once you're in one town, it's mostly just a hop, skip, and a jump, and you're in the next town. And that's how, like, they're all connected throughout the entire state for the most part. But you go to other states, and next thing you know, it's like, here's one town, and it's 150 miles to the next town. You're like, what the fuck? Like, there's literally nothing in between. Like, no.
I will say it's not as crazy as a lot of people, even what I just said. Like, I don't think anyone out here is really in the middle of nowhere per se, because Missouri is not a huge state, and I think to drive from the eastern border of the state to the western, it's like probably 4.5 hours, maybe. And no, probably about 4 hours, a little over 4 hours. But anyway, because I'm thinking you got St. Louis, you got Kansas City, right on the other side you got Illinois and Kansas. So it's about I'm an hour east of KC, and I'm 3 hours away from St. Louis. So yeah, my math was pretty correct there.
Yeah, it's about the width of California then, by that standard.
Yeah. So
San Francisco to Nevada, you
can go to a lot of places around here and find these little towns, but everywhere is only a couple hours away from everywhere else. It's just when you're out there, you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, because when you, like, I don't know, stand up on a stump or something and look around, you don't really see much. But anyway, yeah, the it's just funny the way that I think what I was getting at was him talking to her, so what I said here, all I could think of was like the old cartoon character mobster and Bugs Bunny in Looney Tunes. Yeah, see? Yeah. They're going to tell me about the town, see?
They got like that 1930s gangster voice.
Yeah. But anyway, him and that girl are talking crap to each other the whole time in the car ride. And I kept thinking, like, this is hilarious. Like, and we talked about it earlier before we were doing the review, but I kept getting Coffin Joe vibes in this movie. Like, immediately, actually, when he rolls up and fixes that girl's tire and then violates her and just takes what he wants and laughs and goes away, I'm thinking, like, that he's gonna go curse the gods and then whimper in front of them, and then when they go away, he's gonna say, like, yeah, see, like.
No, it's like, what? Yeah, when you mentioned that, I'm like, I can 100% see the Coffin Joe biker version.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious. In fact, I would love to see like Willem Defoe in as Coffin Joe for Halloween. That'd be fucking hilarious. But
Really, like if there was an Americanized version of Coffin Joe, Willem Defoe played him, it'd be pretty badass.
I'm a bit of a Coffin Joe myself. The meme with him, that scene from Spider-Man. I'm a bit of a scientist myself, and that's become a meme for a million freaking things. But but yeah, she again. I was like, dude, I don't want to say scene after scene, because the movie's pacing wasn't like super fast, but it wasn't. I don't know. It was kind of like a halfway point to boring, but not. I guess it's just because it's not a particularly exciting film, but it's not uninteresting either. Because you keep going like, what's going to happen next? What weird thing is going to happen next?
That's the thing, is I think as well as movies where like nothing really happens, and on the surface it does feel like it's kind of boring, but like the way that it's kind of made and shot, you always are kind of like, oh, I want to see what happens next. Where are we going with this? You never get like legitimately bored. You just feel like, once again, there's not a whole lot happening. It's not like there's action in this movie until maybe the very end. It's not,
and
like
that's kind of like, it's kind of not even action as much as just like a weird like commotion, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty hilarious, but and that all stems from the event of, well, I guess it stems from the bikers just being in town in general. That weirdo guy. Off. The weirdo guy who doesn't like to pay for his crap. He ends up being the father of the girl with the Corvette, and
which means
you don't know that for a minute.
Corvette.
Yeah, so she's telling Willem Defoe who about the Corvette, about why she has it, and her mom killed herself, and her dad got all pissed off about it, and I guess violated her the night that she killed herself, the mom, and then she's saying like, yeah, Daddy says I'm a slut, but I think I look at it as a skill, maybe a talent even, and then Willem Dafoe's like, oh, are you looking for business? And she's like, all I know is I could take you to heaven or whatever, and it's so like sad, sad, and just kind of like pathetic, sad, but also so brave. And
well, it's the weird thing that this is the only exciting thing that this girl probably has in this town is these random guys showing up. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
Because think about it, this is a time period before good TV. There's probably no cinema here. There's no video games. Like, yeah, life probably kind of sucks.
Oh yeah. And then so they get hammered and go back to the automotive shop. Which, mind you, what's hilarious is they're all doing the work. The guy who has the place like isn't doing crap, but maybe he's not really a mechanic anyway. I don't know. It's not really
established. He sits in like his motorhome and he's like looking at porno mags,
nudie mags, and it's hilarious. Like Willem Dafoe's like, hey, we need to use your shop. And he's like, not today. Like, are you allergic to making money? And I love Willem Dafoe's response too. He goes and molests a Coke machine and then yells at him, Dad, what's your problem? And he's like, we got the money, and I guess he lets him do it apparently. But so they all kind of like party and fix their motorcycle, and that guy, it's hilarious. That guy, the shop owner, I guess, he's like envious of them. And I think it's funny because you see a lot of people who don't have the guts to do a lot of things in life. When they see somebody doing that kind of crap that they don't have the guts to do, they're envious, and they're like, oh, I wish I could live that way. I would love to be able to do that, but I can't because I'm a pussy. And
that's what it mostly always sums up to, is that they don't got the balls.
I was that guy, for sure. Before I joined the military, I had a few friends that were in the military, and I'd ask them about it. Oh, what'd you do? Oh, that's cool. Wow, that's really cool. And they'd be like, why don't you just join the fucking military and stop asking me questions about it? I'm like, oh, my knee hurts. I can't do it. I was going to join, but,
yeah.
And you hear that so much. And I know because I used to say it so much. And then finally I did it. And it was nothing I thought it would be like. It was everything and nothing I thought it would be like at the same time.
Well,
But
that was like when I was a kid, I really wanted to be in the Air Force because I watched a lot of Top Gun and Iron Eagle and everything like that. And then I had a
Top Gun's
teacher
the
and
Navy.
like yeah, exactly. And then like the teacher's like, well, you can't fly planes if you wear glasses. And I was like, well, there goes all my ideas came crashing down in a fucking ball of flames and everything like that. And then lo and behold, by the time I was military eligible, that was when they started doing the laser surgery for like everybody if they wanted it.
yeah, it's amazing.
So like my Vietnam War teacher era, he was giving me advice.
It's amazing what they say, like, oh no, you can't join because of this and that, and then when you join, you see all the people that had this or that, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I thought you couldn't do it. Like, oh yeah, I just got a waiver, or like, it's insane. And then not only just the people that like got a waiver for being flat-footed or got a waiver for, I don't know, having multiple surgeries on one joint. That was my case. There's people that there's nothing wrong with them. They're just fucking retards. And you're like, how did you, why are you here? If there's one thing I heard all the time and I got sick of hearing was people saying, Air Force, huh? Yeah, you got to be real smart to be in the Air Force. And I'm thinking, like, why don't you tell that to all the fucking idiots I know that are in the Air Force? But
yeah, they let anybody in here if that was what you're wondering.
Oh, the Army's for stupid people. I'm like, how smart you have to be in the Special Forces? Pretty damn smart. You can't just be a buffoon walking around, I'll shoot you, like.
yeah. I don't think a lot of people have a whole idea of how any of the branches totally work and stuff like that. There was even one that I remember, like, once it was like something like one of the Army guys said, he's like the only reason why the Marines like get all like the praise they get is just they got better PR company. That's the only difference. It's not like there's everybody else does just as much work in different fields, but yep, the Marines have the PR.
I don't know. But anyway, where were we?
We were talking about
so they're partying up in the barn and fixing their bike, and that guy's like fixing his motorcycle all day, and then they just leave him.
That's all he does. He literally doesn't do, like, he almost does nothing wrong. He's just working on the bike. He's almost like the most serious one of them all, where the other ones are all kind of goof-offs and so on like this.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually the only one, too, that I feel like looks like a legitimate biker comparatively to everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because everybody else just does not look like they're that tough. Like, it's like one of those ones. But this guy actually looks like the kind of guy who probably wouldn't get in a fight, but if he did, he would actually defend himself pretty darn well.
Like, see, once again, I thought there was going to be a scene here where the nerdy guy, who's the son, I guess, of like the shop owner.
Yeah, because everybody's kind of tied together.
Yeah, he's like, can I sit on it? And talking about his bike. At first, I was like, what's he talking about? Is he talking about like sitting on his wiener or something? But he, because there's a lot of weird stuff in this movie. But he, he's like, can I sit on it? And Hurley's just like, sure. Thank you for asking. and as he sits on it, these two rednecks roll up in a pickup truck and something. Yeah, how fast can that thing go?
They're rednecks too because they got a big old Confederate flag right in the front.
What's hilarious is these guys have the Confederate flag on their truck, the Virginia battle flag, and hey skinhead, like.
Well, this is also at that time period, like back in the day, where like it just means Southern pride a lot of times too. It doesn't always have like all the other connotations that it's got, So it can mean multiple things, especially like movie wise, like in the 70s and 80s. Like it literally mostly just means.
Hell, that sticker could have just been there from the guy that had it before you did.
Yeah, because this is like the era of like Dukes of Hazzard and Smokey and the Bandit and so on like that, where people don't look. They don't look down upon that flag at this time period. Yeah. Even though these guys are definitely rednecks, they do stand out that like there's something wrong with these two.
But yeah, they're trying to shine him on, like, hey, what, does that thing keep up? Is it fast? Is it whatever? He's like, you can't keep up with it, and I thought something real crazy was going to happen there. I thought maybe they were going to kill him. I thought they were going to fight him. I thought they were going to run him off the road or whatever. But nope, just a scene later, they show him driving down the street, racing that truck, and something blew off the truck, like something blew up or whatever, and he just beats him in a race. That was it.
That's it.
He goes to the bar and is hanging out with everyone, where they're watching almost like a cabaret show. The waitress from before decides to be a real floozy and starts taking off all her clothes on stage, and I'm like,
then she gets made fun of by the bikers. The bikers literally like just be like, "Oh, this is the best entertainment you got in this town. It sucks." They're like so unimpressed.
Yeah,
and then it's like this is all this lady's got going for her. She's like, you know what? People generally consider me the hottest girl in town. Well, until probably like Talina came around, that stupid whore.
Yeah, it's just wild. But yeah, so that before the bar, what's his name? Willem Defoe. What's his name? Vance? I think his name's Vance.
Yeah, Vance. Vance is Willem Defoe's biker name.
Yeah, so he takes old Talina back to the hotel right next to the bar, and
yeah, you don't realize how close it is to that bar. It's literally right next to the bar.
I think it might be part of the same structure. I don't know.
I think it literally is.
They go back to this hotel room, bang, and then Willem Defoe like slips off of her like a cat. It's such an awkward scene, and he's just looking in the mirror. And one thing about this movie, I think it's about as deep as this movie goes, is there's the, I'm going to say, idea that's supposed to be put in the viewer's head that he's, even though he talks about like, I don't care about nothing, I'm a loner, I'm a nomad, he's thinking about everything that's going on. Like, it's all kind of like, I don't want to say setting in or anything, but it's still like, he's not as much of a nihilist, I think, as he'd like people to think. That said, he doesn't really do anything about anything either. He's just kind of like, huh, okay. And then the next thing happens and he's just like, okay. And what happens there is you see somebody shooting out the rims on that Corvette. And of course, it's that sweaty weirdo who's tight with money. And that happens to be Talina's dad. And I'm like, oh, of course. And he comes in and rips her out of there. And the line that I'm like, oh, God, of course, is where, he's like, come on out of here. And she's like, Daddy, he didn't do nothing that you haven't already done 100 times, and I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, exactly. There's that. And then also think about it. He shoots the tires out. That's his car, too. I know,
right?
She's like 15 years old. I know she can't buy a Corvette.
I'm
Not
thinking,
that talent's like whatever.
Yeah. What lengths did he have to go to get that car? You know, like, man, had to have been a long drive. But that's that was kind of, I was scratching my head there. I'm like, why the hell would he shoot out his own tire? Like, maybe he thought that guy would get mad and like follow him or something.
That's the only thing I think of. It's like, but no, Willem Dafoe's character just doesn't care. It's just like, whatever.
No, in fact, he smiles. He like sits there and he's like,
solve that problem of like, like you pillow talk in the morning.
And one thing that's interesting about this movie that you see in a lot of movies throughout the years is everything takes place in one day.
Yeah, it's literally like a total like start, nighttime. That's the whole movie. Which,
thank goodness, because I don't know how it would have played out if it was supposed to take place in more than one day. But so then he goes back to that shop, meets up with Terry and her. He's like, "Oh, are you getting that?" I'm like, "Oh, he's talking about screwing," and then he's like, "It was wide open." I'm like, man. And once again, woman director.
Yeah, once again, though, it's Kathryn Bigelow, you know what I mean? So it's just like, it's got this, because a lot of stuff in it's very, like, it seems like it comes from, like, a very manly perspective of, like, just, I take what I want, I get what I need, Here's all these, like, somewhat strong. I guess the only thing that makes them kind of, like, seem a little bit more, like, is those biker guys all sort of have a weird feminineness to them. Like,
oh, yeah.
that like I think that's what makes them seem kind of like weirdly untough, is that they just seem they're like 2 steps away from being like gay bikers at the end of the day. It's like what they're sort of leading towards, but without like, you know, they haven't figured that part out yet, what they really are.
Rob Halford's like, choose your next words carefully. When the first not Vance, but when Davis, I don't even know who the other guy was with the sideburns.
The sideburns. That guy's got like a Rob Halford outfit going on.
So him and the other guy, he's like he seems a little younger, maybe, I don't know. They all seem young, but he seems a little younger. He rolls up and they've all got those little hats and the studs and everything, and I'm like, oh, these guys look like a bunch of Rob Halfords, like wannabe Rob Halfords, and I thought it was kind of hilarious. But yeah, no. So yeah, they go back to the bar and it's interesting once again. Real happening times there with like the 4 people in the whole town are at the bar and
they were at the diner in the morning. They're at the bar at nighttime. Now the bikers have showed up in there, and there is one scene that does happen before they kind of all go there, where Talena and her dad, he's like driving her away, he's all pissed off at her, and a bunch of the bikers come by and they run him off the road, and he crashes into a tree, and it's like that's like her final straw. She's like, "Fuck you, Daddy, I'm out of here."
And I thought that was going to be a bigger scene than it was too. Especially the guy, I think he was hammered. I think he was starting to drink.
He probably
and he's like
drinking.
He's grabbing her, and I thought he was trying to shove her head on his wiener, and because he kept going like, and she's like no, and finally, you know, he just like holds her close to him and then crashes the car into a tree because the bikers are going everywhere on the road, and then yeah, like I thought one of them was gonna die, maybe both, but they didn't. Probably because cars were built really well back then, and that bumper probably did its job very well.
Yeah, probably killed that tree.
Yeah, and she gets messed up on the face a little bit. It looks like a little cut that you don't see at all the next time you see her. Yeah. And then, but yeah, so you know, I guess he's kind of steaming because at the bar later on, you know, everybody's having a great time.
How the hell does he get to the bar? I mean, maybe the bar's not that far away from where they crashed.
That's kind of what I'm guessing, I guess. I don't know. Tiny town. And he's just, like you said, he rolls up in there like, hey, no hard feelings about, you know, banging my daughter. I love banging her. So, you know, you should too. And I don't even think he says anything. He's just like, huh? And then him and his brother, who I guess is I don't even remember who his brother was.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first time his brother sort of appears is in this bar or something like that.
Something like that.
It is one of those ones. He takes him outside. He's all like, I got to talk to you. I got some important things. So they go
he's telling him too.
Maybe it's like, I don't know. They literally go to a trunk of a car, which I'm pretty sure is his car. So maybe his car just got towed out of there and it was fine. You know, once again, 50s cars just takes a beating and keeps on going and stuff. And then he's just like, we're going to go back in there and like kill them all. Like you said you
they load up some guns. And before that, you know, they're talking at the bar. I think it's the older waitress, him and his brother. And he's all pissed off, you know, like telling him like, oh, they're a bunch of assholes and blah, blah, blah. And the guy, his brother's like, they're going to rearrange your face. And and he wasn't having any of it. So they go get their guns and whatnot. They come back in the bar. Again, I thought something big was going to happen. Nothing big happened. And then they go to the bathroom. One of the younger biker guys goes in there, and apparently he's wearing women's panties or something, or at least what that guy thinks is women's panties. I would believe it, but you don't get a real clear shot. They just look like red underwear.
Yeah, I think they're just probably colored ones, and that's probably what throws the guy off. That's like the time where you're like, you don't got tiny whities on, fucking fat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like one of those like things.
Exactly. Yeah, but he rolls him out of there, and he's like, "Oh, look at the lady boy," you know, and and then the bikers all get up, and I thought they were gonna like start beating his ass or something, and then you see gunshots, and I'm like, "What is this?" And it was his daughter, and
she fucking kicks down the door, just starts unloading, fucking Tarantino style.
And I'm thinking like, hey, you know, that's actually pretty fitting. And then I thought it was the most hilarious thing. And of course, this is the part of the movie that if there was going to be action, it was this. And it's still just kind of, this is why I said it was kind of just more of like a goofy commotion than action, because after that dude gets shot like 4 times by his daughter, she walks back outside, and Davis, the guy played by the rockabilly guy, he like starts like like cackling and shooting a gun as well, like at bottles and stuff. And he's just like, you know, like, and shooting his gun. I don't think he even shoots anyone.
No,
and,
he's just like, oh, well, I want to start shooting too. So he starts shooting up the bar, you know. And we also forgot to mention that for some reason his blonde girlfriend goes and bangs somebody else outside too. It's just like, and it's like nobody seems to care. It's just that's just what they do.
Nope. And then there was an emphasis talking about being nomads, and one of them, it's funny, like they talked like this earlier on when the other bikers, the second group of bikers showed up. With Hurley, and he's talking like, oh yeah, I got to fix my primary chain, it's messed up. And I think it was Davis walks up to him, he's like, you know, I'm like sick of your crap or whatever, or, you know, like maybe we'll just, you know, we're gonna be late because of you. And Hurley's like, I am not asking you to stay. And Davis is like, I wouldn't go nowhere without you, you know. And it's like, are you guys gonna make out or what? Like, what is this tension? And it's kind of the same in this bar right before that nonsense breaks out. You know, he's talking about, you know, I'm breaking off this joint, you know, I'm going to go my own way. I'm going to go over here. And they're talking about where they're going to head instead of Daytona or some shit. And then Willem Defoe puts an end to the conversation saying, we go nowhere, you know, like they don't have a destination. They just ride. And then, yeah, his girlfriend walks in there. Her lipstick's all smeared and shit. She's totally shameless. Yeah. And probably because, you know, she's got the idea. They probably all have the idea, but the only one that's really ready to accept it's probably her, that she doesn't belong to any of them. She's ready to just go have a great time with whoever. Yeah. And
it's like it's proto free love era.
And then, yeah. And like I said, the Willem Defoe, at some point he's sitting in that bar and he's thinking, they play back the audio from, or the dialogue of the girl, Talina, saying like, hey, you didn't do nothing you haven't done 100 times before. And he's just sitting there with a kind of a blank stare on his face. And that's what I was saying. Like, you can tell that he's thinking about what's going on, but again, doesn't do anything about it. He continues to live the way that he feels he is going to live. And then after she blows away her dad, he walks outside, watches her get in the vehicle and blow her own brains out. No attempt to like stop her or maybe say like, hey, why don't you ride with me? You know, like, let's get out of this town. No, he's just like, and like, there's no like, no. Oh my God. He's just like,
Well, and I will say that part's like, because this movie's 81, but that like the way this movie kind of ends is very 70s style, where it's that kind of new Hollywood where there's always kind of like a dark ending and the characters are kind of almost like nonchalant about it and so on like that, you know. And I feel like that's kind of how it is. Like, it seemed like that was that girl, like there was nothing left. It's like realistically, could she go on living like with all the trauma she's kind of went? Like, it kind of had to probably end.
And honestly, it made me wonder if, you know, the viewer would have to catch it, would have to understand it, that he might feel that he's doing her a favor by letting her do that, you know, instead of come live with me, you'll love it. Meanwhile, she probably hate it. You know, I'm tired of, you know, being on the road with you stinky bikers. You don't have money. You just cause havoc, and you don't have a life. You know, I'm sure she, you know, I can imagine where he's thinking this is the more humane thing in the long run, letting her do this because girl just murdered her father. Yeah. Was he a good father? No. But is she going to be in trouble anyway? Probably. So here's her way out of the justice system, the way out of being convicted or conflicted and convicted, I guess, but conflicted and dealing with inner demons and whatnot. So I mean,
and her way out of town, like that's
Yes.
her escape out of the small town, like dilemma, because what is she going to be in a sense? You're going to be like the that other waitress girl who's now just kind of stuck here because she got married young and now her husband's dead, like whatever he died, like the mine accident or the mill or whatever the hell it was, and it's like that's it. Now she's sort of stuck here as a waitress because. Yeah, scaffolding. That's what it was. One of those things, and that's it. It was almost like that thing too, where, well, there's a part like way early on where Willem Defoe has, I can't remember, he has sort of like a monologue, and I can't remember if he talks it, which person he exactly says it to. He might even say it to the lady he changes the tire to, but where it's almost like he does nothing, doesn't has no purpose, doesn't have, he just exists in a sense like that, and he's proud of it.
Yeah, I think one of the things he said too is that like the only thing it's like the only thing he lived for, or what owns him, is the blacktop, the eternal blacktop, or something like that. But yeah, no, it was I don't know, man. I think I don't think you could really do anything to improve or wreck this movie. It just seems to have played out the way it was supposed to. It's almost like reading a newspaper, like the, in the, I think it was the Calaveras Enterprise when, I was living in Calaveras County, that had, they had the police logs, the sheriff's logs in the paper. And, this just seems like something like that. Like, well, that happened.
Yeah.
I look forward to tomorrow's paper.
Yeah. You don't question it. You just go along with it. You don't try to rewrite it or anything like that. You accept it as fact and just kind of go with it. And that's even how it is. Cause like literally the movie just ends and all the bikers get on their motorcycles and they ride on out into the darkness, and that's it. Credits start rolling, but, no, I think it's one of those ones. I think it's a very interesting kind of artsy movie. You got to kind of really be into film to really appreciate it. If you just showed this to anybody, it might be a little much.
I can only imagine there'd be a lot of people who are like, this movie sucks.
Yeah, it's boring. Like nothing happens. Like, it's got a lot of that stuff. But if you like, I don't know. I still found it pretty interesting. It's one of those ones like, it sounds weird. It's like we kind of go with, they said at the very beginning, like there's not a whole lot that happens there. Well, we talked about it for like an hour, so obviously there was still enough that jars your mind and all of the stuff in there, and just how these characters interact. And weirdly enough, there is a lot of interesting things in here, even if it feels like a movie about nothing.
Yeah, interestingly enough, this movie only took 22 days to shoot. Yeah. And had two different titles before the Loveless, US 17 and Breakdown.
And I don't know if it's one of those ones you let those other ones. I get the US 17 means because that's the highway they're on.
I think so. I think so. Which that
Breakdown is kind of very to the point. The movie is about a motorcycle breakdown, and maybe it's a double entendre one where it's like, but it's also the breakdown of small town culture.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it would have been okay title, but I think that would be that kind of title. I think is better for like if this film turned out to be like a zombie movie.
Yeah, or an action
something,
movie.
like because you think like US 17. Well, what happened on US 17? What happened? We'll tell you what happened.
Sounds like an airplane movie more than anything else.
Yeah, but the Loveless I think makes a lot more sense in US 17 and Breakdown. Why? Because this movie is void of love.
It really is.
The people in town, like with each other, are not even like. It doesn't seem like nobody's happy to be around anybody.
No.
And funny enough, there was a line from, they call her Sportster, the blonde biker girl.
Yeah.
Where she goes over to the guy who owns that shop, shed, whatever, and asks him, is that your boy? And he's like, yeah. And I don't know if she was saying, then she says, got a wife? I don't know if she was asking if the boy had a wife or if he had a wife, but the guy just says, yeah. and she says, "Good, I love a happy family," or something like that, or "I love a family," or "I love a happy family," or something. That might be the only instance of somebody saying that they're affectionate about something in this entire film.
Yeah,
And
Sportster Debbie.
and of course, you know, it was satire. She wasn't, you know, like genuinely curious and satisfied with that. She just was probably screwing off.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. Just a interesting little thought there. The Loveless. It's this whole damn town.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing too is like I just kind of compare this to sometimes some other biker movies and stuff too, and like the fact that these guys, even though these guys are kind of hooligans, they're only kind of hooligans. It feels like they're like
they really don't do anything. They don't really do anything wrong.
No, because there's this Billy Jack movie. It's technically the first one, which is not called Billy Jack. The second one's called Billy Jack, but whatever. The character appears in it, and that one's one of those ones where like that one's got bikers in it, and the bikers are like scary 1969. Like, you know, they do everything. They're doing drugs. They're killing people. They're raping girls and pulling. You know, like they're doing all like the stuff. And Billy Jack has to go and save the day. You know. And he's a poor half Native American guy that nobody likes in town, but he's the one who actually saves it. It's actually a really good movie, a good series of movies too. But like those bikers are one of those ones where they have that kind of like what I always called like that like late 60s, 70s, where like the characters are almost like pure evil, like they're monsters almost, but they're
I haven't
real humans.
seen. Are you talking about The Born Losers?
Yes, that's what it's called. That's the first one.
Interesting. I gotta watch that. That sounds pretty good.
So there's the Born Losers, and there's Billy Jack, and then there's like a third Billy Jack one. And it's also one of the movies that sounds weird, but like it's like one of the first movies to have martial arts in an American movie. Like it's not much, but like he throws a couple of like roundhouse kicks and so on. But like at that time period, it was like that was kind of unheard of. Like the only other person that kind of did that was Bruce Lee in the Green Hornet. So it has like kind of like a historical value for that too in it, you know. That like it's like the first time that there's kind of like actual martial arts in an American movie.
No, I got to check that out. What was the Bruce Lee movie with Chuck Norris? Was that Enter the Dragon or?
That's Return of the Dragon. That's
Return
technically a
of the
Chinese movie though.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask if that was American because I didn't think it was.
No, so that's Bruce. That's a Hong Kong movie, but it's Bruce Lee writing and directing it and so on. So that's the first time he gets to be in full control.
Interesting, but yeah, the
well, sadly, first and kind of only time because the only other time it was a Game of Death, and that only got 20 minutes done. Yeah.
Bummer. The I guess the only thing that I can say that they really did wrong, the bikers in this film, two things. So Willem Defoe did violate that woman in the first part, and then you know that's not right. And
that's not right, even for the 50s.
Yeah, and then Davis, that jackass in the diner, like he makes me think of this freaking. I was gonna say kids, but I've seen grown fucking men doing this. You know, in the military, they just like can't stay still. They can't just be good. You can't just keep your hands to yourself. He's like messing around, dumping the salt on the table and doing little designs in it. And then, you know, like stabbing the seat with his knife and like, oh God, I'd love to just smack you, man.
Like a 5-year-old kid hopped up on Ritalin.
Oh man. Like, God, just like behave for God's sake. But, that's the only two things I could think like,
well,
that
that's,
these guys really did wrong.
All the stuff that they do that's kind of wrong is very childish. Because once again, I'll even say like the Willem Defoe part where he violates that lady in the beginning, that could have gone a lot worse. You know what I mean? Like, because you know, if this is a lot of times in 70s movies, I feel really bad when I see a girl like that. I'm like, oh, this is not going to go good for her. You know, because mostly that just means something really brutal is going to happen next. And that was she almost got let off easy for like this time period of movies. Like, whew, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot worse in the previous decade.
But no, yeah, it was very interesting, man. I don't know what else to say other than I'm not unhappy that I watched The Loveless. I think it's worth a watch for, like you said, if you're a person who appreciates film. If I was Kathryn Bigelow, I'd be very proud to say I made this movie. You know, like because it was her first one, and just an interesting flick. I mean, as not interesting as the plot is, it's still an interesting movie as because
Yeah.
it's a movie.
Yeah, it's one of those weird ones too, and I feel like I've almost, because I've seen it twice now, knowingly that I saw it beforehand. But like now I think about it, I feel like it's one of those ones that like it reminds me, like if you watch it a couple of times, you kind of like take it in a little bit more each moment you see it and so on. And
I think it's like, even though it'd be wildly different, I could see putting this movie up with like American Graffiti and Grease, and a few other flicks that are synonymous with the time period.
Yeah,
and
and just sort of hang out movies, because in a weird way, American Graffiti, even though that's 62, but that's literally just a day in the life of these kids, like on their last day of school, pretty much being like, here's the happy days, and then Vietnam. Because it has to have a 70s ending, so it goes like everything's good, fun, boom, Vietnam. Half your friends are gone.
Christine is another one that I kind of
Oh yeah.
Again, not the same movie at all, but there's some of these movies that I feel like they belong together in a sense that same decades kind of, and just different perspectives on how things could or could not go during those times, but
yeah. Well, there's that romanticism for like the 50s that was really prevalent for a long time. And I actually kind of noticed this in like the last like 10 years, is like, because when we were kids, it still felt like there was a lot of 50s stuff you saw all over the place. It just, you saw the 50s diners, the 50s cars. There'd be Marilyn Monroe and John Wayne stuff everywhere, and Elvis Presley.
There was a restaurant chain that I remember vividly going to called Chevy's.
Yes.
And I don't see those anywhere. They must be just gone.
Yeah.
Because I don't see those anywhere. Like now and then you might see an American diner, but it's pretty few and far between. I think people just don't care anymore.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is that, like, I think just the time it kind of got past it, and like there's a few Mills diners, but even still, like, they almost even feel like they're not as 50s as they once were. Like they kind of toned it down a little bit more, and I think that stuff just kind of just started disappearing. I think once again it's like many things, like the core audience for it that was extremely nostalgic has all pretty much about passed away, or is pretty darn close to it.
Yeah. But everything goes the way of the buffalo eventually.
Yeah, exactly. So there is that. But no. I think The Loveless is one of those ones. Like I assume not a whole lot of people have seen it, but it's definitely worth kind of just throwing on. I'm not gonna say you need to like stop whatever else you're watching to go put it on. It's nothing that's gonna like change your like whole like outlook on film. But it's still interesting, and it's interesting to see Willem Defoe in his early role, and the fact that he's supposed to be sort of like a sex symbol type character, but it's Willem Defoe, so it's really hard to take that because he just.
I wouldn't say I'm very comfortable in my. I'm a man, and I know I'm a man, and I like women. I don't like men, but I'm not afraid to say when a man is attractive or not. And Willem Dafoe, I'm sorry, I don't think he's a very. I don't really want to see his ass again or the back of his penis.
He's not Patrick Swayze. He's not Mel Gibson. He's not Val Kilmer. It's like
I will give him the kudos though for bearing it all in his film debut.
Yeah, he goes for it. He's like Harvey Keitel. Like Harvey Keitel, I think wants to get naked in movies, and it doesn't matter how old he is, he still gets naked. Because I don't know what it is. Like there's too many times I've seen a Harvey Keitel movie.
His agent calls him like, hey, they're asking if you want to be in this film, and he just says nothing, and his agent's like, you're not naked right now, are you? Please put your pants on.
Yeah, here he goes. I mean, there's literally like the very first Martin Scorsese movie, or one of the first ones he has. I want to say Who's Knocking at My Door, maybe it could be. But like literally it's all in black and white. It's like 66 or 65. And it's literally got a Doors song playing with Harvey Keitel and a love scene, and he's like naked for like 10 minutes straight. But then again, I've seen Harvey Keitel, this is the 60s. I've seen Harvey Keitel naked in the 90s, and I did not feel like I needed to see that. It was like 45 years later, still naked.
Oh my goodness. Yikes.
But yeah,
I'm telling you, man, I was so messed up right now. I know who Harvey Keitel is, but
yeah, Reservoir Dogs.
In my head, I kept thinking Chris Kattan.
You know, I've never seen Chris Kattan naked in a movie, to tell you the truth.
But now,
surprisingly, I'm almost thinking too.
When you were talking about Scorsese, I'm like, there's no way this guy was in a Scorsese film, and then I'm like, Harvey Keitel, and I'm like, oh my god, Harvey Keitel, what an idiot. And I'm thinking, yeah okay, yeah.
Think Tarantino movies and so on, you know, but
he was in Pulp Fiction, right? Wasn't he the wolf?
He's the wolf. Yeah. So there he is there, but yeah, Loveless, interesting movie, definitely worth checking out. It's strange, it's goofy, it's kind of scary and kind of fun all at the same time. I don't know how, but it just kind of is. But yeah, other than that though, go check out more Old Man Orange podcast on YouTube and Spotify. Until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido. Remember to always ask before you sit on another man's bike.
Yes, exactly. It's important, you know, especially if you're wearing glasses and you look like a nerdlinger and everything like that. You know?
Yeah.
Keep your pants on, damn it. Guys don't like naked ass cheeks on their bike, especially when you're in the South and it's humid and you know you got that swamp ass probably going. But yeah, with that, we are out of here.